What is going on, guys? KrysticMusic here. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome. We're glad to have you. Today we're going to be making some beginner dance music, EDM music. Now I'm going to try to keep this as simple as I can. So hopefully this is one of the first videos that you're watching on like how to make your first kind of song, how to make your first beat. And I feel like when people start making music, they get into like the dance music first, just out of my personal experience and all the kind of producers that I've met. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this. I'm talking too much, but anyways, we're going to go ahead and go to 128 beats per minute. So regarding major and minor scales, EDM, you can go whichever way with EDM. It's all gonna sound dancey, you know what I mean? Minor scales usually like for like darker kind of music, like emotional type music. But then the major scales are like, you know, happy, uplifting kind of dance vibes. So either way, whatever kind of vibe you're feeling, you can go with. I'm just gonna stick with B minor because honestly, that's the first thing that came to mind. I have a little pad here that we can start out with. I can play some chords. I do like to get a kick snare pattern going. Let's go ahead and just do that real quick. Let's go ahead and get this kick on there. I just like to set it -12 for the kick and snare right off the bat. For the EQing, I'm just going to do some basic EQ. So for the kick, I'm just going to go ahead and make it for the low end to come through. And now for kicks, you can go ahead and cut the low end if you want, and like kind of make your own kind of punchiness right here where the kick starts. But we're not going to go in too deep with the EQing, right? Because the bass is going to fill out this empty space right here, whatever bass you use, right? But for now, we're just going to keep it simple. Like I said, this is like beginner. Don't worry too much about EQing and mixing and mastering right now, because you're just like wanting to get something down on Ableton, right? So we're going to go ahead and get this going. So our kick pattern is going to be on every quarter note. So it's going to look something like this, right? To get your fist pumping, right? And I just do this as a guide. You don't necessarily have to start your song with a kick drum if you don't want to. So you can already kind of hear the bounciness of it. And we're going to go ahead and get a snare. Now this is more of, I don't know if I like the snare for this type of vibe, but. So on the snare, the kick snare pattern, you want it to be like on the 2. So kick snare, easy enough, right? Easy little dance. Whoa, easy little dance kind of rave vibe, you know what I mean? Like I said, basic beginner stuff, right? Just one basic kick snare pattern, right? Sounds a little loud, so we're gonna check the volumes. So everything's like right at -12. We're going to go ahead and just clean up the low end on that. Basic EQ. Now, another thing for like EDM, little easy trick, is your hi-hats. So your hi-hats, let's go ahead and get a hi-hat in here. The hi-hat. So on the hi-hat, you kind of want it on every other one, right? So you get that bounce. So it sounds like that, right? So in between the kick drums. Go ahead and duplicate that all the way. Lower that a little bit. And depending on how fast you want it, you can go 120. It's either anywhere between 120 and 130, I think, is a good start, right? So this is, so slowing it down is 120. Then 128 to 130. You can kind of feel that, like Steve Aoki, like his remix of Pursuit of Happiness, right? Kind of like that vibe. I guess that's what I was going for, right? So let's go ahead. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and EQ this. I like to EQ as I go, as much as I can, because it saves me time in the long run. So we're just gonna get the highs on this and then send it to the reverb sidechain, because why not? And this is basically just how much reverb you want to send it, right? And if I send all of it, if you solo the reverb, this is what you hear. That echoey feel, right? Without it, sounds like this, right? So I just want a little bit of reverb. You get more control if you do it through sends, right? And then it just sounds cleaner, less muddy. I can even, if I wanted to, I can try to fix this delay. Let's go ahead and do that. I do like the filter on it. So it's a little bit bouncy on the delay. We'll go ahead and turn it down a little bit though. And it's all up to you if you want your snare to be echoey, have a delay, it's all up to you. So congratulations, that is literally the drum section bare bones that you want to master right there. Now, of course, you can add anything that you want into this, right? So I'm going to duplicate this and just kind of make it a different color so it's easy to kind of shape out. So you can literally put as many different things as you want regarding drums, right? So for example, I can put this on there, right? It's like a little, it's just like two snares, right? Quickly next to each other. And just that little emphasis like really adds to your song, right? Let me just check how loud it is. So it's at -19. So let's raise it a little bit. And we can go ahead and put this. Since I copied it from the hi-hat, it was getting all the highs. So let's go ahead and put it to -14. Not as loud as the snare, but just under the snare. Now that we EQ'd everything, we can turn down as needed. So this is going to be your bread and butter right here, right? This little phrase, this little EDM dance phrase. So you got quarter notes on the bass, and then the snare on the 1 and the 4. And then in between that, you have a hi-hat. And then you can add whatever kind of percussion you want, like this sound right here, to kind of spice it up a little bit. So all together, it sounds like this, and you can literally add an open hi-hat, whatever you want. It's literally, it's yours. You can't ever add too much. I mean, you can, but you know, just feel it out. But this is how it sounds. So that's basic drums for EDM dance. Now we can go into making some chords. Dance music is usually a lot of chords, right? It's chord progressions, so 3 notes, right? Maybe even a 7th on there. But to keep it basic, we'll just make some chords and then move throughout that area. You can just insert an empty MIDI clip. And I'm just going to mess around with some chords. Still in the key of B minor. And a lot of songs get that like triplet feel, right? Da, 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 da. So we're gonna keep that pattern, right? And what I like to do is press key, hit this record button, and press R on my keyboard, just so I have an easy button to record with. So just your basic kind of pattern here. So let me just quantize this. You can quantize it yourself, which I like to do, or you can try to go ahead and quantize. So quantize settings are right here. So whatever you do, it'll snap to it. But mine was kind of triplets. But so you can kind of mess around with it. But sometimes it gets it wrong, so I like to do it myself. It's just really up to you, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And quantizing just means you're lining it up to where it should be, right? Depending on what feel you want to go for. Some people don't quantize because they want it to feel more natural, and that's definitely okay as well. Like you can just play it on the piano or your keyboard and just leave it like that, and that's totally fine. But for what I'm going for, just to make it easy for everyone, I'm just going to quantize everything so it's all uniform throughout. And I'm going to loop that so we have so we can finish out the phrase. So these chords are all in B minor. So all the notes you see, it's easy if you want to press B minor and follow along there. These are just the chords. So now I'm going to highlight these, hold Alt, and I can change the velocity, right? I want all of them high. So they're at full velocity. And you can change the velocity on each one if you want, to have one softer than the other. But right now, I'm just going to put that. I'm going to go check the volumes. I always want to check the volumes to make sure it's okay, especially because I'm recording a video. But you always want to make sure the volumes are all right, right? Now we have our chords, right? Bass, it already feels kind of dancey, right? So what else we can do with the chords that we have? I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate it. We can leave it alone for now, but you can add however deep you want to go with this. So this is on a low octave. If I wanted to move it up, I can hold shift and press the up arrow on my keyboard. Then you can just play around with that, right? So a little shortcut. That moves it up an octave and down an octave. So if you really wanted to see what it sounds like in different octaves, you can hold shift, press up and down on your keyboard, and it'll move a whole octave up and down. So I like how it sounds right there. If you wanted to, you can hold control. Now that these are all highlighted, I can press control and I can move this up to a B, and I can hold alt and lower the velocity of the high octave. So the low octaves are more present than the high octaves, but the high octaves are still there. Imagine pressing your keyboard at the low octave hard and then lightly pressing it on the high end, right? Basically what it is there. This is with the high and lows, just more octaves. So it's a lot heavier, right? Now what else we can do with this? I'm gonna make this a different color. Let's make it green, and then I'm gonna turn this one off, turn this one on. What else you can do with the chords that you already have? You can just bring it out, right? And kind of fill it out. And you can change your sound if you wanted, whatever you want to do with it. Now I'm going to find a sound that's kind of like something that sounds like a saw bass, which is that gritty kind of like dancing sound. So like this kind of sound. So this is like your signature kind of dance sound. I don't like how much white noise is on this sound actually. So I'm going to kind of play with it, turn the noise either off or down. This one's an octave up. I'm going to turn this one an octave down. I'll leave that there. So what you could do here is make it kind of bounce. Right? So you can go ahead. So right now we have some chords here. What you could do for an EDM kind of sounding track. This isn't really like a very bassy sound, because we're going to add bass here in a second. So I'm going to leave room for that bass, which is kind of right here, cut off like at 100 and 150 hertz. Same thing for this next sound here. Depends how full you want it. I'm going to leave it right there for now. Like I said, I don't want too much of the white noise coming through on that. And then for this, we can put a compressor, and basically we're going to sidechain it to the kick. Sidechaining means basically whenever the kick happens, that's when this is going to kind of duck. And you'll see what I'm saying here. I'm just going to use a generic compressor. And you press this arrow down here, external, and we're going to go to the kick that I have. And then if you wanted to, which I kind of prefer, is to make your own kind of sidechain audio track. Because if there's a part in the song, like a break or something, where you don't want it to go with the kick, like let's say the kick isn't present in the song, but you still want that bounce, you can just mute this track and it'll still be sidechained. For example, let me just put this to the sidechain. So it's going to go with this. Let me just make it a different color so it's easy for y'all. Let me just make it a different color. We'll go, I don't know, we'll go this red, right? So this is our sidechain. So whatever beat this is, so whatever the kick is on, that's where our audio is going to duck, right? We can actually put this right over it so y'all can kind of see that. So let's start out from the beginning here. So as you can see, the gain is going down, even more kind of a dance vibe, right? And I'll show you what it sounds like with and without. So this is with. So you can tell when the kick happens, that's when it ducks. All right, so you have your little track here, right? And of course you can add or subtract anything that you want. If you want to start with chords, right, and not have the drums come in, it's literally up to you, right? But let's say I don't want the sidechain, take off the bass, it's going to be normal. So we'll add two more things just for starting out here. So we have our drums, we have our chords, we can add our bass. Now, when we add our bass, now adding the bass, it could be simple as well. So let's go ahead and just duplicate this, make it a different color. And then to be easy, we can go ahead and just duplicate this, right? And just take the root note since we're doing our chords here, because the root note is going to be in key as our bass, right? So we're going to solo this and whatever bass you have, and I'm going to go ahead and put this over here because we want to fill out that bass, right? We can turn this generic compressor off. So you can get like any 808 sub bass, right? So you can get any sub bass, right? And just kind of place it in there. And like I said, it'll be in key. You can go however deep you want. I'm going to go right there. So I'll just move this here. You can sidechain it to the kick like we did the chords, right? So it'll sound like this. So now we have that low end that I was talking about, and we can actually beef this up if you want. So this is kind of like the high end, and this fills out the low end. And that fills out your bass, that fills out the bass part of it. And like I said, the threshold, you can do it as much or as little as you want. So the next thing we can learn here is like build-ups, right? So just for the sake of the video, we can go ahead and pretend that this is the drop, right? This is going to be the buildup. So we're going to go ahead and get this part here, and we're going to go ahead and kind of make our buildup to how you want it. I'm just going to do a basic one here, right? So we're going to start on the 7. So it makes more sense. We can put the drop here. I'm going to go ahead and add a crash. You can add a riser if you want, but just for the basics, I'm just going to add this crash. Go back to here. I can unwarp it because I don't like warping my crashes, and I can put it right here and reverse it. So you reverse this crash and it all kind of flows a lot better, right? Let me just turn that down. So now that we got that kind of transition, the buildup we can put right here, right? Now you can add your lyrics, you can add anything here. For your basic, I'm just gonna kind of put a basic kind of build up here. And you basically get faster and faster with the kick. And you can do the same thing with your snare, or if you want to change it up, you can add a clap for your build up, right? Let's make that a little softer, kind of copy this, send some reverb sends, right? And I can get a clap. We could just do this one for now. And kind of fill it out, right? Basically, however long you want to do it. And that'll be kind of your riser, right? And you can make it however you want. What else I wanted to show y'all besides that, because that's pretty simple, right? Self-explanatory. You just build up. I wanted to teach you how to make a white noise sound in Ableton stock. So you can go to analog, just drag and drop this onto a MIDI track, or you can just drag and drop it onto just the files and devices here. I'm gonna make mine kind of this long. I'm gonna go insert MIDI clip just so we have that there, and we're gonna make some white noise. So I'm gonna just have it white, right? We'll call it white noise, and let's go ahead and kind of do this. Let's see, we'll go to our audio effects, kind of EQ as we go. We want white noise, so we want the high end of it. Just depending on you, I don't like it all the way high, but I like it around there, right? Now on the analog itself, this is where you're going to change it. So you're going to turn the oscillators off because we don't want any noise. And so we have our analog here. We can turn on the noise, and the color we want for that noise is going to be all the way up. And we can go ahead and turn off the filter, turn on the filter, put everything up. Do the same thing for this filter, right? Put everything up. Just drag this all the way up. Our amp here is going to be on -18. We can leave that there, but turn this up as well, right? Because we're at -10, right? So I'm just going to go -14. I'm going to go -15. This volume is the peak level, so this is how much it peaks, right? So yeah, it's at -15, but it peaks at 16.1. So basically this is how much it peaks, right? Currently at its current level. So white noise, we can go ahead and make that since we have it ready now. You can put it on any note. I'm just going to put it on B since we're in B minor, just cause. And there's your white noise. To get that rising effect, we can go ahead and put an auto filter on it. So let's go auto filter, drop it on there. And we're going to turn this frequency knob. So this frequency knob is what we're going to change. If you notice, when I turn it up, it kind of rises, right? So we're going to click on this frequency knob, and this is automation as well. And if whatever you click on, that's what's going to be here. So if I click on the drive, it'll go on the drive, right? If I go on the frequency, it'll go back to the frequency. And this plus button is just bringing it down so you have a better view of it, right? So you can do as many of these as you want, right? If you want that, you can put that there, however automation change you want. But I do want this one, highlight that, and kind of bring it down, right? So I'm bringing this down, and I want to rise, so I'll put it up. So that way it rises. And there you go. And if you want it to fall, you can do the same thing, but do it the other way. There you go, and you have your riser for your EDM track. I'm going to put it a little more because right now it's hitting at -24. So it's peaking at 18.9. Let's go ahead and put it at -8. All right, there you go. There's your white noise, and let's go ahead and... I'm going to insert MIDI clip. You can also do the same thing with the white noise. You can kind of play around with it, right? Some people like to do it like this to make it bounce. Some people like to, it just depends on you. Some people would like to put white noise in the background of their tracks. So if I do this and sidechain it, if I sidechain it to the kick, it's just a little extra kind of wave kind of vibe. Where am I at right now? Right here. External sidechain, it'll sound like this. So so that's why I didn't really want that white noise in Serum, because we can add it ourselves if you want to. However little you want to do it, however much. It's just up to you if you want to do it at all. It just gives it that extra kind of dancey feel, right? And then of course, if you wanted to add your lead, which is not chords, just straight up lead, you can make your own melody, right? So you can add your little lead there. Let's turn this down, it's a little loud. I just want it in the very, very back, right? A lead is basically, you can kind of think of it as a guitar solo, right? It's not really chords. It's kind of like a melody, basically. So we can see how that sounds. All right, so I added a vocal just in case you wanted to see what it sounds like with a vocal on there. So let's go ahead and just play it and see what it sounds like for the finished product of the video. So that's just your starting point there. So hopefully you learned something, you know what I mean? If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you want me to do more videos like this where I kind of break down each section from drums to chords to bass to leads to extra effects, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, I've taken enough of your time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the end result. And yeah, once again, my name is KrysticMusic. I'm going to be making more videos like this now that I have the time. But anyways, y'all have a great rest of your day. Hope y'all are having a great new year so far. And as always, keep making music, keep listening to music. My name is KrysticMusic, and I'm out. Peace.